Let me tell you how I went looking for peace and wound up the lead character in what felt like a suburban war, complete with drones, lawsuits, and the queen of the HOA herself. All because I built a bunker. I guess I should have known it wouldn't be that easy. I bought 6 acres of Colorado wilderness just to finally hear myself think, not to get tangled up in some neighborhood power struggle. But life's got a way of throwing you curveballs, and let me tell you, the one that landed on my property had Karen written all over it. See, when I first set eyes on that land, it was the kind of quiet that almost hurts your ears. You know, wind whispering through old pines, granite underfoot, nothing but sagebrush and sky as far as you could see. No traffic, no neighbors, and most importantly, no HOA. I'd spent 15 years designing bunkers and reinforced shelters for folks who lost sleep over EMPs, not taxes. So when I finally scraped together enough to stake my claim, it wasn't just for peace and quiet. It was a chance to disappear. Just me, the mountains, and a plan I'd been sketching since I was a kid. The bunker wasn't some doomsday fantasy. It was a contractor-grade permit-pulled, engineer-approved fortress. 3-inch concrete walls, solar batteries, filtered air, the whole 9 yards. I did it by the book, every inspection passed, every blueprint filed at the county office. Construction kicked off that March. I brought in a crew I trusted, the type that didn't ask questions, and before long we had the main shaft open, rebar set, and the stairs welded in. That's when the buzzing started. At first I thought it was hornets. Turns out it was drones, black and glossy, hovering over the site like nosy birds. I didn't think much of it until the 3rd one showed up, then the 4th. One even crashed in August, and when I popped it open, what do you know? There's a micro SD card with video clips of my pit, my tools, even some audio of 2 folks whispering about military-grade construction and unsettling threats. Guess word travels fast in Silver Hollow, the development up the hill. Their HOA president, Karen Dallas, was a legend already, a woman who signed her name like it was a federal subpoena. Next morning, I find a letter in my mailbox, no stamp, just slipped in there like a warning shot. Official Silver Hollow HOA stationery, though I lived half a mile outside their territory. It basically said I needed to stop subterranean construction because it made people nervous and could be a psychological disturbance. I laughed out loud standing there in my muddy boots, the kind of laugh that makes your neighbors worry. I read it again just to savor the legalese vague threats, heavy on suggestion, light on substance. I figured ignoring it was the best answer and got back to work pouring concrete. But Karen's kind never just sends one letter. A week later, another one landed, this time warning of civil liability for emotional distress. That letter made good fire pit kindling. Pretty soon, some guy in a shiny black SUV parked outside my fence and just watched. Didn't even bother pretending. I started to get that tingle in the back of my neck, the one that says things are about to get messy. So I did what any sensible person does. I doubled down on security. Trail cameras, motion alerts, cellular backups. If it moved, I wanted to know about it. I was methodical, not paranoid. Folks like Karen use rules as weapons, but I know a few moves myself. Not long after, I found a laminated bright orange notice zip-tied to my gate straight out of a condemned building playbook. Construction suspended pending HOA review, it read. Subcommittee and all. Cute. But the county shot that down quick. My land was unincorporated, my permits in order. HOA rules ended where my dirt began, and I stapled that response to my gate for good measure. But you know bullies, when they hit a wall, they just find another way around. That weekend, I caught 4 people on my cameras standing on the bluff, flashlights pointed at my excavation. The next morning, another anonymous note. Consider what this project is doing to the community. No signature, of course. Then the local press caught wind, or rather a shrill woman with a mic and a cameraman in shorts showed up. Their headline, Apocalypse Prepper Builds Bunker Near Family Neighborhood. The photo was courtesy of Karen's drone, no doubt. After that, it was open season. More drones, more media, even a community awareness picnic about mental health and underground extremism. The HOA upped the ante, dropping off a fat folder marked Community Safety Assessment Report. Mock diagrams, fake psychological profiles, testimony about anxious kids. It'd be funny if it wasn't so gross. But then came the twist, a dead squirrel, wrapped in a Ziploc bag with a note, "We bury things here too." That one I reported to the cops. Not that they did much. The deputy was so young he probably had to Google bunker. The real twist, though, came from a friend of mine, Vince, a retired Army signals guy who traced one of the drones back to a Denver security firm. Their biggest client, Silver Hollow HOA. They were contracting out their surveillance, getting serious. It stopped being just neighborhood drama when I got the court summons, $1 million lawsuit. Emotional distress, environmental destabilization, even claims my bunker was a threat to community stability. That envelope was heavier than my granddad's Bible and just about as dramatic. That's when I called Ella, my lawyer, sharp, calm, zero patience for HOA nonsense. She'd seen people sued for roosters, for fences, but never for emotional zoning violations. We responded with everything I had: permits, inspection reports, notarized letters from county engineers. Still, the media ate it up, painting me like some off-grid terrorist. Karen played the part, crying on camera about neighborhood morale. Flyers started showing up with my address, "Stop the Bunker Project." Folks I'd never met were driving by my place, rolling up their windows like I was radioactive. Online, it got even weirder. Some folks called me a threat, others called me a hero. I even saw t-shirts for sale, "Bunker Down for Freedom." Ella told me, don't give them the soundbite they want. So I kept my head down, finished construction, and started welding conduit while news vans camped at the end of my drive. Then came the showdown. Protesters on my property line with homemade signs. The sheriff's office said as long as they stayed off my land, they could yell all they wanted. So I stood at my fence, arms crossed, and waited them out. It felt like a circus, except I was the only one who hadn't bought a ticket. But here's where it got downright cinematic. 4 black SUVs and a white government van rolled up, ATF, environmental protection, infrastructure, and safety, you name it. Clipboard guy asked if I was storing hazardous material. I smiled, showed him the hatch, and let them poke around. I recorded everything, every test, every question. In the end, they found nothing but canned chili and a water filtration unit. One even complimented my backup generator. As they left, one older agent told me quietly, "We're just here to make things uncomfortable. Orders from upstairs, as in county or Karen's living room, hard to say." The next day, a flash drive landed in my mailbox, anonymous, no note. On it was a recording from inside the HOA boardroom. "We'll drown him in paperwork and lawsuits until he folds. If that doesn't work, then static." Someone inside their camp didn't agree with the queen. I got my buddy Mark, a digital forensics guy, to dig deeper. He found a zoning request buried in county records mapping my land as future community infrastructure. Turns out Karen and the developer were trying to swallow my lot for their next luxury phase. Mark traced the flash drive to an HOA treasurer who'd apparently grown a conscience. Then I got the motherlode scanned emails between Karen and a developer laying out their whole scheme: squeeze me with lawsuits, force me out, then build their empire over my bunker. Armed with all that, my lawyers went on the offensive: harassment, fraud, abuse of process. The HOA's case was unraveling faster than Karen's hairdo at the final hearing. In court, I laid out my permits, showed the inspection videos, and even played the internal drone footage and HOA emails. My expert witness, a forensic psychologist, shredded their claims about psychiatric harm. The judge took it all in, turned to Karen, and asked point blank if the emails were hers. Her lawyer objected, but the judge overruled him and kept going. Final verdict. Not only did the judge throw out their $1 million lawsuit, she referred Karen and the HOA for investigation, fraud, trespassing, conspiracy to seize property. The HOA board collapsed within a week. Karen got indicted on more counts than I could count on my fingers, and other neighbors came out of the woodwork with stories of her bullying. As for me, I stayed quiet and let the system finally do its job. These days, my bunker's just a place for quiet and the occasional workshop on property rights. Sometimes I hang a sign over the hatch: private property built to last for the free and prepared. Funny thing, I set out looking for peace, and in the end I had to fight for it. Turns out the real threat to community isn't a bunker in the woods. It's what happens when a little bit of power gets into the wrong hands. Makes you wonder, where's the line between keeping order and trampling freedom? When does community become control? I'm still not sure. But if you've ever dealt with HOA drama or stood your ground against bullies, drop a comment below. Tell me what's your take on justice and power. And hey, if you've got a wild story of your own, I want to hear it.